Today we're at the bandsaw. We're going to build a jig for the bandsaw. It's called an L fence for flush trimming in odd shapes. Stick with me and I'll show you how we're going to do it. So when I was thinking about making the L fence for the bandsaw, I run across this piece here. It was wider, but it already had the cleat on it. I don't know what I was going to use that for, but it's got just a little play, so you know, that's probably why I abandoned it. Don't know. But anyway, we're going to use it right here, so it'll land right here this way. We're going to clamp it down on the sides to keep it from moving, so that little play won't matter. It just gives it a place to register, so it will be in the same place every time. I was working on, I don't know, you know how you lay in bed right before you get up and the wheels turning, and cause I had a lot of comments that they don't have a table saw, one thing or another, but they would like to have an L fence for the bandsaw. They had a bandsaw. Well, I kept thinking, because the blade goes all the way down, and like the table saw, we bring it up to, and I'm kind of rolling around in my head just how, and it hit me, and I'm going to show you how I do it, in order to, the piece that you got the template on will go through, and the saw blade, the bandsaw blade won't cut it. I'll show you when I get there. Y'all stick with me. I've not done it. I'm figuring this out as I go. I've had a lot of comments. They like me, watch me figure it out. I don't know why, but you know. Anyway, I figured I would show you how I come up with this. I don't know 100% it's going to work, but I don't see the reason why it won't. But so this could be a fail. I don't know, but I feel like it's a work. So here in just a bit, we'll put this thing together and we'll see. Let me give you the dimensions of what I've got thus far. What I decided to do is go ahead, like I say, this thing's locked in. When we make our cuts, we're going to clamp it down. But this is going to be the fence. And I'm going to have it perpendicular. And the reason being, whenever I make this piece, in other words, this is kind of what it's going to look like. And the reason why I'm going to make it a little different, but I'm going to keep it to where we can clamp it here for the up and down. That way you can adjust for the thickness of whatever material that you're using. However, I guess one could get fancy and put slots and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But what I was trying to do, you'll clamp it over here with your work on it, just like we do at the table saw. However, clamping it down, adjusting it, just keeps it simple. I mean, everybody's got clamps around if they do woodworking. It's one of the things you got to have, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to build, this is going to be that part, the actual L fence. I'm building a fence for the table saw. I've got a fence down here, but then I got to thinking, well, everybody may not have a fence. Everybody may not have that kind of fence. So I was trying to come up with something that, if you got a bandsaw, odds are this will work. However, you don't have to have the cleats. You can lay it down here and put you some bump stops on the side where you lay in there and be in the same place every time. You can do it that way. So this piece right here, the fence, this is 3/4 inch stuff. Every bit of this is at a 3/4 inch. But you know how plywood come, it's just under, that one's just about 11/16. But this one, I'm making 2 foot, we're 24 inches long, 3 inches. So this is 3 inches by 24 inches on the 3/4 stock. This piece here wound up being just under 5 at 24 inches. But the length of it, I don't think it's going to be critical. You can make it longer if you wanted to. If you're more comfortable with longer fence, you just have more to rest her off of. So we got that right there. Also, I went ahead and found how I come up with these supports. So what this thing winds up being is a little over 4 inches by 3 inches. So that's what I did here. 3 inches by 4 inches. So these little wedges are going to be support for the fence. Space them down through there. That ensure this stays at a 90, because it's not a super critical, but it needs to kind of be parallel to the table. And then if this is at a 90 and I get all this squared up, it will be. So I'm gonna make the elf-inch portion out of these two pieces. And like I say, they're 24 inches long, 3/4 inch material. This is 2 inches. This will go against here and clamp on. And this one here is, well, it wound up being 4 15/16. Now, your measurements may be just a little different depending on your bandsaw table and all. This is just what mine's going to be. So you just want this fence, when it's all said and done, to be just past your blade. I'll just go ahead and tell you, I'm planning on cutting a little groove right here. When this thing sits in it, this sits right in that groove, and this side of the blade will be flush with this side of the fence. And I think that's what's going to make this thing work. But I'm going to make this thing a little different than I did the one for the table saw. I'm going to make it 7/8 inch up, and it's going to be like 7/16 here. And in other words, this right here will set against the table, and if you've got 3/4 inch stuff, which is probably more common, you don't have to measure. You just set it against the fence, clamp it on, and go ahead and use your 3/4 inch stuff, and it'll be about an 1/8 inch high. That'd be where your pattern can run across the end of the thing. However, if you got something thinner, say 1/2 inch or less, you flip it over and you put it right on it, and you probably do, well, 7/16. That'd be like 1/4 inch stuff. Then you raise it up a little bit for the 1/2 and so on. But I decided to offset that, and I think it'll be better in the long run. I can get thinner stuff, but then 3/4 stuff, I'm already set and ready to go. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and attach this piece and the braces to here. Then we'll come back, and then well, first I'm going to probably cut the holes like I do on the L fence. Go ahead and do that the same way here. So this is sticking out a little far. And we'll go ahead and attach this, and then we'll come back and get our clamps and clamp it down, and we'll do a test run. Like I said, I'll have to cut me a little notch right there for the blade. And that notch will depend on what blade you're using. If you're using a 1/2 inch wide blade, you'll need naturally you'll need a wider. But most of the time, this is what I resaw with and everything. And it is a 111 inch. That's what fits the saw. But here's where it is. It's 1/4 inch wide, 6 teeth per inch, and 25 thousandths thick. That's this blade right here. And I have better luck with it, and I'm gonna make my notch fit that, because odds are that's the blade I'm gonna be using. All right, I've got these pieces to help me hold this. So what I did, I took me some blue tape and fixed it where it just fold right, and glue it and then fold it right on it. Now, what's gonna help me is when I fix these pieces, and I'm gonna glue them on there. And I'm gonna use tape on it, and I'll show that to you when I get there. But right now, let's go ahead and glue this right here. So I just sandwich it up right there. Got glue squeezing out already. The way I'm gonna do this, I got it marked there where I can kind of get it even and be out of the way of the clamps and so forth and so on. So what I'm gonna do right quick, we will go ahead and set that right there, but we need to pull that thing up in order to so what I'm going to do, I'll take this, give me a block of wood, we'll get it right there, and we'll pull it tight right there. Well, for whatever, there it went. Right there's where it's supposed to be. All right, we'll take that. That way it's putting pressure in the center right there. A video on the value of the blue tape. So we'll let that set up. I got to thinking about it. I'm gonna go ahead and shoot me some pin nails in here. A little extra support, if you know what I mean. Should recognize the layout. I'm gonna take my jigsaw. We'll cut all this stuff out. What I'm going to do, I'm going to find the center of my L fence, and we'll cut us a slot, a notch for the blade just to hide in. Now, my blade, I'm gonna need a gap of 5/16. So that 2, 4, 5. Half of 5/16 is about 30 seconds. Doesn't have to be very deep. We just want for the blade to hide in there freely. So I'm gonna cut each side down just a bit with the handsaw. All right, just a little bit. So I'm gonna take a chisel. We'll just cut us a little notch out right there. Got about halfway down. Look at the other half. Right here. Okay. We have got the fence. It's not going to be hardly as quick to set up as it is for the table saw. Setting it up on a table saw is real quick. However, this isn't going to be bad. So it requires, well, the same 2 clamps that is on the table saw. However, it's 2 additional clamps. I don't think this thing needs to be moving. So I'm gonna clamp it to the table. That way, when you're pushing something through there that you want flush trimmed. So it looks like, let me find something to, we'll test this thing out. Let me go get something. So we're just going to simulate something. Got a straight edge right here. And let's say we got an angle. We'll just eyeball something right here. Let's say the angle run from here to right there. So what we're going to do, we're going to line these marks up, put a straight edge right here. So what we're going to do, we'll double-sided tape. Oop, that dude took off. Okay, so you can turn it up on the edge and line this thing up. All right, this thing is pressure activated. So we'll fire this thing up and we'll cut this thing. We'll make sure we ain't cut this, so we'll check that as we go. It's cut it flush, but too flush. It actually cut, and it's sticking this way too far. I mean, just barely. Well, I'm talking, it's just barely. So to do this, I'm going to take a layer of blue tape and put right here and then clamp this back on. It should push it out. Let's just see what. just under 5 thousandths. Let's just put a layer of tape on that thing. So I'm going to put this, it's 4.5 thousandths. And I think that's going to be what I'm looking for. We got us a layer of tape on. Let's just see. This thing is really, really close. So let's try this thing again. I have turned this thing over. So this will tell us. We want to stay out of that, but we want to get this as close as possible. And hopefully this thickness almost 4 thousandths, 5 thousandths will do it. Let's see what we got here. We have got it. Yeah, so that worked right there. If you've got, let's say you don't have room for it, you can't afford it, or you don't see the need in having a table saw, but you have a bandsaw, you can do flush trims plus, it's like bird houses, the front and back, where you can get in odd shapes and stuff like that. But the thing about it is, when you do get a table saw, this thing you bolt it to your fence, clamp it to your fence, and you've got a L fence for the table saw or the bandsaw, either one. Well, I hope this helps for the ones that don't have table saws but has bandsaws. Bandsaws, a lot of times you'll see guys wood turning, they need to do a little flush trimming like this, but they don't have a table saw. Or if you can't afford a table saw, don't have room for a table saw, because I had a lot of comments for the bandsaw. Well, I made a fence right here. The thing about it is, I did this just in case you don't have a fence for your bandsaw, or your fence is completely different from mine. I have seen all kinds of fences. So I come up with this, but this way, you want it mounted where it won't move. However, if you did have I just wonder, as your thought just come to me, because like we did the tape, so with the fence that come with my table saw, I was able to clamp it here and clamp it there. Now I can move the fence in and out to find that exact spot, just like we do with the table saw. But I can go ahead and take this and put it on the table saw. What I'm going to do, I'm going to lower this for the moment. All right, so this right here, you could do 3/4, set flat on the deck. So let's go ahead and so this will make the setup even faster. So now I'll take the saw blade, I'll start right before it. Now, There it is. And there it is. Now we can take something. Do I have something? See, and I got this attached to it, and it would take off that much. So that'd be right on time. So setup would be a lot quicker with that. No problem. And actually, if you looked at that, a little slot right there doesn't even come into play. So you can use it on the table saw or the bandsaw, either one. And the funny thing about it is, I'll be trying scratching my head, how am I going to do this operation? I got an L fence and just set it up, just a few seconds, doesn't take long. The L fence is handy. But I got me a little L fence for the bandsaw now. Yeah. Hope you learned something. Appreciate you hanging in here with me. And I will catch you on the next one.